Welcome to our video session about biomimicry life principles. Life principles are design lessons from nature, and they can be found everywhere in life on Earth. For each of the 26 principles, we will show you an example in the ecosystem of a tree. Just like in nature, life principles are all interconnected. But to help us understand them a bit better, they are organized into 6 master principles and 20 sub-principles. So how does life on Earth develop? How does it grow? How do the two go together? In this part, we're going to look into 4 principles, starting with the master principle, integrate development with growth, and 3 sub-principles, self-organization, self-organize, build from the bottom up, and combine modular and nested components. So we're going to talk about 4 examples as part of our tree ecosystem. We're going to be talking about the big 4 orders of insects and how they develop, how they grow. We'll be talking about the self-organization of a mixed woodland, about the formation of soil, and about the branching fractal system of growth in a tree. Integrate development with growth. And our example for this principle are the big 4 orders of insects that are extremely effective in surviving. And they are everywhere because the big 4 orders are beetles, Hymenoptera are ants, bees, wasps, flies, and butterflies. Those 4 orders. What's so special about them? They have a fascinating life cycle. They have 4 distinct phases of development. First, of course, there's the egg, where the embryo grows. And then larvae hatches, the second phase. And in the larval phase, normally these insects, they eat and eat and eat like a caterpillar with the butterflies. They eat a lot and they grow and they eat and they grow. And then at some point they pupate. So there's a phase where they don't grow anymore, but they completely change. They develop and fundamentally change in a metamorphosis into a new being, into the 4th adult stage, the imago. So into a butterfly, or into an ant, into a wasp, a bee, a fly, or a beetle. So these 4 distinct phases of development and growth, they all have different functions in the cycle of life. And these 4 parts, this kind of life cycle is so effective in surviving. It works so well in nature that it's a mega diverse order. All these 4 orders are mega diverse. There's so many species of beetles or ants or flies. In a country like Austria, for instance, about 77% of all animal species that are known belong to these 4 orders of insects. So what's our design guideline here? Invest optimally in strategies that promote both development and growth. We can find the big 4 orders of insects in every ecosystem that we know, basically. And especially, of course, in a tree ecosystem, they are everywhere. They're absolutely indispensable. Without ants, wasps, bees, or beetles, most trees will probably not exist as we know them. Self-organize. Our example in nature for this principle is a naturally growing mixed woodland. How does a mixed woodland, how does a natural forest grow? It needs to start somewhere. Every forest started somewhere. If we go back in time, in Europe for instance, we go back to the end of the Ice Age, we had big areas with just the start of a soil and just very simple little plants maybe living there. The climate became warmer and the conditions were beneficial to more and more tree species to grow. And every kind of tree needs different conditions, of course, to grow. And from a starting bushland to a young forest to a climax community of a big mixed woodland with old and young trees, big and small, and all kinds of other species that live as part of the forest ecosystem, that process is a self-organizing process. There is no one there telling each tree what to do. Depending on the conditions that are here and there and the interconnections, the interactions between the different species, everything self-organizes. And over time, in a succession, during specific circumstances, a mixed woodland, a mixed forest can self-organize and grow, and then live for a very, very long time as this ecosystem. What's our design guideline here? Create conditions that foster the interaction of components in order to enrich the system. And our tree ecosystem, many tree ecosystems are of course part of a bigger ecosystem, of the ecosystem of a forest. That can be totally different, of course. But the more self-organizing and natural an ecosystem is, the healthier normally every tree individual in the whole system is. There's a big difference between a monoculture that we humans grow with one kind of tree and a diverse, self-organizing mixed woodland. And that is also a big difference for the health of a tree. Build from the bottom up. Our example in nature for this is a forest soil. The formation of soil. How did soil actually develop, grow? It must start somewhere, and soils are extremely important to all life on Earth as we know it. We have actually named our planet after it, Earth. So how does soil develop? Our domestic woodland soils actually started out post-Ice Age as simple bedrock with very simple life forms and small little plants that lived on a sandstone structure, with the roots started to granulate minerals, and over time the decomposition of organic matter actually led to a layer of fertile humus. And over time, over millennia, a mighty complex soil, a big horizon of fertile soil grew and grew and grew. And that takes a long time. 1 centimeter of fertile soil takes about 100 years to develop, to form. And over time, different layers started to develop and strongly differentiate. You can actually now see in many soils there are different horizons. You have at the top the layer of detritus, of dead organic material. Then you have the A horizon, dark and fertile. Then you have the B horizon, where minerals are being changed to soil. So basically the process of stone to earth, that's where it's really happening. And then at the bottom, the C, you have basically the parent rock. So from the bottom up over millennia, our soils, our forest soils, developed. What's our design guideline? Assemble components one after the other. And our soil is also the bedrock for our tree ecosystem. A tree can only live as part of a soil that is alive and that has grown over a long, long time and is still teeming with life. The tree is rooted in the soil, it gets its water and its nutrients from the soil. Combine modular and nested components. Our example for this principle is the tree itself and how a tree grows. The branch and root ramifications, or the branching. So the way a tree grows is fascinating. In a fractal structure, it gets ever more complex, but always in the same structure. From the start, a little sapling also already has the beginning. So it already has a small beginning of roots, a small stem, and the first leaves. And in the same branching structure, it will grow bigger and bigger and bigger, bigger and bigger, ramifications into the soil, giving the plant structure, rooted in the soil, getting water, nutrients, bigger and bigger, and up towards the sky, bigger and bigger, branching out to create photosynthesis through sunlight. What's our design guideline? Fit multiple units within each other progressively, from simple to complex. Our tree and our ecosystem of the tree, of course, uses exactly this way of growing, of ramifications. That is why it is such a fascinating, long-living being. So that was part 4. To get the whole story, check out the other 5 videos about life principles and our video, What is Biomimicry? See you next time.